What happens when a once unknown YouTuber or streamer finally achieves the fame and fortune that they desperately craved? Would they stay true to the fans that elevated their life beyond their wildest dreams, or would they throw it all away for short-term greed? Let's find out.
Yo, what up? It's your boy Rice flavored gum. You can call me Brian, that's my real name, because all you guys are, my subscribers.
When you look back at RiceGom's early start on YouTube and Twitch, it's hard to believe that he'd become as hated as he is today. Back in 2012, RiceGom had just started his YouTube channel and was mostly uploading gameplay of his favourite games such as Call of Duty. His content wasn't very polished. Then again, at this time, that was true for all gameplay channels. But RiceGom was trying to build a brand entirely on his own personality. Just a young guy sharing his story. But even at this early stage, you could see that RiceGom was focused on success. He was trying to copy what was making other YouTubers successful in order to get views himself.
I told you again, I'm not talking about the gameplay. What I do want to talk about is my life story. And I'm going to do a lot of these because these are funny, and I know a lot of YouTubers do this and they get really good responses on them.
However, at a time where everyone was trying to do the same thing, it would take years for him to see any substantial subscriber growth. After all, there was nothing that really made him special. He was just another guy playing COD trying to stand out. Unlike his peers though, the gameplay wasn't what mattered. He wasn't using his gamer abilities to try and grow. Instead, he was using the gameplay as a backdrop and a vehicle to push himself. Which is why when React content started to appear on the platform, it wasn't long before RiceGom jumped on that ship, seeing it as an easier path to fame and riches. And he was right. In 2015, he got his wish and his channel started to blow up by reacting to prank videos.
Kissing prank, close your eyes, crazy for love, it's a girl prank. Alright, so most pranks are guys pranking random people, bada.
And when I say blow up, I mean he went from less than 100,000 views per month to 40 million views per month in less than half a year, taking him from complete obscurity to one of the largest channels on the entire platform in terms of viewership. And the video that got the ball rolling was his "These Kids Must Be Stopped," which reached 15 million views.
Yo, miss me with that gay shit, what the fuck? Yo, everyone that's watching right now is probably pissed as fuck, cause like you didn't dodge it, like you literally just got kissed by this guy.
Following this, RiceGom began to experience exponential growth on the channel, reaching 5 million subscribers by 2016 in just a year, and eventually 10 million overall. At this point in time, people really liked RiceGom. Despite doing personality-based videos that were mostly making jokes and having fun, he didn't come across as a dick. He hadn't said anything really too controversial, and people even considered him to be humble. Very quickly though, the fame and the money showed the fans that they were very, very wrong. The true RiceGom started to surface.
And basically, I don't know, I got kind of like, I told this dude no, I don't want it, and then I was drunk.
No, but did it feel good though?
At this point, the new content direction for the channel, and therefore RiceGom as a human being, changed entirely. No longer was it about having fun, it was about causing drama with other YouTubers, creating diss tracks, and generally flexing the wealth that he now possessed. But even now, it seemed like RiceGom was untouchable. A good example of this would be RiceGom and Gabby Hanna.
Hey RiceGom, I just challenged you to a live battle on Snapchat. Would you do it?
No.
Live rap battle. Why wouldn't you do it?
No, I don't want to do it.
Alright, so Rice doesn't have his ghostwriter today. It's fine. I think we can still battle. I think we're good. Okay, so update. Sorry if it looks like I'm crying. RiceGom didn't think that joke was very funny, and he hit me in the middle of a party and shattered my phone. I can show you that in a sec. Everybody's like, did he hit you? And I was like, yeah, he did.
Weeks prior to this, Gabby and RiceGom were having a bit of a back and forth, which had now escalated to assault allegations. Usually, at least now, this type of situation would mark the end of a creator's career. But that wasn't the case for RiceGom. He had a massive fan base and extreme levels of clout, which allowed him to walk away from the controversy almost unscathed. But this was a clear sign that things were going to go downhill from here. Essentially, the entire incident gave RiceGom the idea he was untouchable, that no matter what he did, his audience would always be there to back him up, and for a while, he He was totally right. After all, people liked RiceGum for who he was and had been growing up right alongside him for multiple years now. They felt that they really knew him and that a bit of drama wasn't the biggest deal, that they could see through it all and knew that he was better than this. But as soon as the fame, popularity and riches got to him, people started to realize that that was exactly who he was. The once humble creator who shared his relatable, funny content was now flexing his shoe collection.
Red Octobers, Fragment 1, Off-White Nike, white Yeezys that are actually dirty because I actually wear them. Yeezys, more Yeezys, more Yeezys, more Yeezys, Off-White Air Maxes, and more Yeezys, and one last pair of Yeezys.
Naturally, RiceGum's viewership and subscriber growth stagnated. His audience wasn't interested in gawking at mansions or fancy clothes. They wanted to see a relatable creator that put time and effort into their content. Unfortunately, the old RiceGum is no more, and his online career would follow shortly after. On the 31st of December 2018, RiceGum uploaded the now infamous How I Got AirPods for $4 video, which will go down in YouTube history as one of the most shameless promotions of all time.
So alright, yo, these are kind of fire. And then I have the option to sell it back if I don't want it. But I bought the box for $60. I can sell it back for $140. So I low-key made a profit. So I'm gonna hang on to them. I'm gonna just open up another one.
In this 11-minute video, RiceGum had done irreparable damage to his own brand and proved that he no longer cared about his audience at all. He went from being broke and thankful that he was lucky enough to have an audience at all.
I got really lucky, and you know, I got lucky that I ran into you guys.
To being filthy rich and totally out of touch with why anyone watched him in the first place. It was very clear now, the only thing that mattered was making him just a little bit more rich, and if he had to give his young, impressionable audience a crippling gambling addiction to do so, well, so be it, just the cost of doing business, I guess. Of course, fans can sometimes forgive a struggling creator making some bad decisions to make a little bit of money, but that clearly wasn't the case here. RiceGum was incredibly wealthy. He had more money he could ever spend in his lifetime, in his kid's lifetime, and that still wasn't enough for him to stop. Of course, this chapter of his story wouldn't be complete without a classic YouTuber apology video. RiceGum addressed the controversy in which his defense was that other people did it, so why is it a big deal that he did it too? As well as explaining that they offered him tons of money, which of course then makes it okay, right?
But anyways, he made the same type of video, like 3 months ago. No one said anything. It wasn't a problem back then.
The cherry on the cake though is that his solution to those actions was to post Amazon gift cards in the video, essentially throwing pennies at the peasants from his castle filled with gold.
There's nothing I can really do but say sorry and give you these Amazon gift cards. So I'm sorry, it just wouldn't happen again. Amazon codes $10 to $20, just a little giveaway. It's the least I can do after, you know, this, you know.
So it's safe to say RiceGum knew his time in the sun was coming to an end. Angry comments from fans on anything he posted, and almost weekly exposed videos made being on the platform incredibly difficult for him. I mean, if you look at his earliest video as a 15-year-old talking about Call of Duty, it's just full of comments dissing him. This led to RiceGum posting less and less frequently, until finally it looked like he'd given up on the platform entirely. That is until he appeared out of nowhere to promote a now infamous cryptocurrency pump and dump scam called Save the Kids, alongside other disgraced content creators.
Save the Kids token.
Save the Kids token.
Now, when you consider just how successful RiceGum was in his time on the platform, it's obvious he will never have to work a day in his life. He will live wealthy for the rest of his days. He could have used his platform for good, continuing to be popular, well-liked and respected. Instead, he let the fame, fortune and clout infect his mind like so many other creators who blew up overnight and started living a life that exposed their worst qualities. At least for RiceGum though, he didn't try to hide who he was or what he was doing, as it was painfully obvious to everyone watching that he was out of touch. His downfall was right there for everybody to see, and it wasn't some underground, hidden, shadowy expose that brought him down. He was just true to himself until the very end, which is more than can be said for some other influencers on this list.
Welcome to another episode of Unbox Therapy. Today is a very exciting day.
Lewis from Unbox Therapy started his career in December 2010 with videos of himself unboxing high-end tech products like laptops, speakers, and smartphones. The name of his channel, Unbox Therapy, told viewers all they needed to know. A well-edited unboxing experience combined with witty commentary. a formula that many other channels would draw inspiration from going forward. At the time though, the tech niche on YouTube wasn't as saturated as it is today, so it wasn't difficult for Lewis to stand out and make a name for himself. In fact, he's considered a pioneer in the space, alongside creators like MKBHD, Mr. Who's the Boss, and Linus Tech Tips. Channels that went on to amass tens of millions of subscribers and billions of views. These channels bridged the gap between what came before them. They struck a balance that provided enough information while being fun to watch, even if you had no interest in the current tech on display. Viewers were both helped with decisions about their future purchases, as well as entertained. A viewer-creator dynamic that was based on trust and, most importantly, transparency. However, as the years went on, Lewis' trustworthiness would be called into question as he put his personal gain over the well-being of his audience.
So it only makes sense to give some back to a lucky subscriber, or maybe a few lucky subscribers. So many of you want a new phone. This might be your chance to get one. Just make sure you're subscribed here on YouTube. Leave a comment down below. Let me know which color you like best.
In early 2016, Lewis published a video of himself next to a literal truckload of iPhone boxes, stating he was going to give away a few of those phones to lucky members of his audience. The video received over 10 million views, and in the eyes of everyone watching, it looked like he intended to give away all of the iPhones shown in the video, something that was completely unheard of. The only requirement for entering this giveaway was to follow and engage with Unbox Therapy on all social media platforms, which is not uncommon for a giveaway. Essentially, it's turning those purchases, which are probably tax write-offs anyway, into reach on social media by having people like and retweet and follow your platforms. Unfortunately though, what people came to realize is that there was something fishy with the giveaway. It seemed like only a handful of phones had been given away compared to the truckload that was originally advertised. Many began to theorize that the boxes were in fact all empty, since they didn't have the protective seal that was present on iPhone boxes at the time.
A brand new iPhone 6s or 6s Plus in the box has a plastic wrap around it, which is sealed right here, and you can see a line running across the box. In the case of Mr. Liu, you will notice there are no such lines on the boxes. This means he allegedly bought hundreds of empty iPhone boxes to stage the giveaway.
Now, the idea of a YouTuber using over-the-top visuals to clickbait their audience isn't uncommon, of course. It's part of the game, but in this case, with it being a giveaway, it seemed to many people that he was intentionally misleading the loyal viewers in order to just gain more subscribers and of course ad revenue. And perhaps you could make a semantic argument that from his perspective, as long as he didn't say I'm giving away this specific truckload of iPhones, then it was on the viewer to determine that this was just clickbait and that the number of iPhones didn't matter so long as some were given away. That of course is not how people see things generally, so he was rightfully called out by commentary channels and the tech community at large, which at this point the best course of action would be a mea culpa, to just admit fault, to apologise, to be a human being to an audience who watch you solely for that quality. But Lewis decided instead to double down.
But I wanted to do more. Problem was, I was having all kinds of trouble with fulfillment. I mean, I have a back and forth DM with some guy from Latvia who won. It ended up taking us over a month to get him the right phone, and a winner in India where I just ended up buying the phone off Amazon and sending it to them directly just because I didn't want to be bothered with sending one of these. And then on top of that, the scammers, the fraudsters, people who were hitting up other individuals' inboxes on YouTube claiming that they had won in order to extract information from them and exploit them or get credit card info.
He blamed the lack of winners on scammers as well as shipping issues, which could well have been true, but it didn't really address some of the issues. Nor is that anybody else's fault. If you plan a giveaway of this scale, you should really have these things in hand. Also, just to be clear as to why people were mostly upset about this, is that Lewis and Unbox Therapy spent weeks dangling this iPhone giveaway over his subscribers, constantly delaying winner announcements, asking for more and more subscriptions, retweets, and more engagement. Essentially, he was using the giveaway to farm growth for the channel, which again isn't unheard of, nor is it the worst thing on the planet, but without any transparency about how many phones were going to be given away, as well as the many issues surrounding the process, it made many people consider his giveaway to be somewhat of a scam. Later, he did relaunch this giveaway, doing a much better job the next time, but the channel was now marked by a controversy that would not easily be erased. This incident broke the wall between what makes the tech review YouTuber niche function, and of course that is trust. But if this was the only time it happened, well, that wouldn't be the biggest deal in the world. That of course is not the case, otherwise it wouldn't be in this video. So on March 10th, 2020, Lewis uploaded a video featuring a Pablo Escobar Fold.
And then somehow the price is insane. This one is listed at $549. The version that's outlined in these specs on Will's computer starts at $399 supposedly. I mean, that thing is like a legend. Let's be honest, this is like a legend. So if you carry that around and you actually got the Escobar Fold,
It's a status symbol.
that's what the youngsters call a flex, Will. That status of that phone is like $2,000. Let's be honest.
This could be like a supreme thing.
A supreme thing.
A product that, if you watch this video, gives off the impression is being hyped by Lewis and Unbox Therapy as a really good thing, and even promoting it to his audience. Which would be really bad, considering this phone turned out to be a massive scam. What Lewis didn't tell his audience or make clear throughout was that this was nothing more than a Samsung Galaxy Fold with Escobar branding. His presentation, phrasing, and lack of critical analysis were all in service of making viewers want to buy the device. He featured the company's website, calling out the low price numerous times, and otherwise gave the impression that it was a legit product to consider. The only disclaimer he gave was in the pinned comment that read, "This is an unusual product from an unusual place. There are more questions than answers. Proceed with caution. The Escobar Fold 2 folding smartphone is actually here. This is an unboxing of the Escobar Fold 2." Of course, a pinned comment is utterly useless compared to an entire video. So it didn't take long for other reputable reviewers to get their hands on the device and out the company as a scam.
The behind the scenes part, which is the company that's trying to maybe sell some of them and also not ship most of them. They're trying to scam you. Is there are way too many cases of people not getting their Escobar Fold for me to ever recommend you ever buy anything from this company. So don't.
On April 11th, Lewis made a response video to this controversy. He claimed that the product wasn't sponsoring the channel and that this was actually not his fault and that people just misunderstood.
Unboxing the Escobar Fold 2. I have no affiliation. It's not a sponsorship.
During this video, Lewis labored the point that they really didn't do anything wrong, which logically doesn't age very well when you consider they then deleted the Pablo Escobar phone video. What made things worse is that he repeatedly said people need to do their own research, which is a very tone-deaf thing to say when your audience almost exclusively watches you for you to do that research on their behalf, and they trust you to be the one informed on things that you show them on your channel. If your entire position within a community is to provide research and input on products that people may consider buying, showing them a product without clear disclaimers that the origin is suspect or being ambiguous about your promotion of that product is incredibly harmful to your responsibility to that community and makes you essentially surplus to requirements. Many fans were incredibly put off by this to the point where they completely stopped watching the channel, calling into question their credibility, trustworthiness, and of course whether or not this was an underhanded sponsorship. What people really didn't expect was that someone who was considered a voice of reason and expertise to tell them after the fact that if they got scammed, it was their own fault for not understanding sarcasm and not doing their own research.
This is sarcasm. Some people didn't pick up on that.
Now, the biggest issue with the initial unboxing video was that it wasn't made clear the Pablo Escobar phone was just in fact a Galaxy Fold, which is a $2,000 phone that they were somehow then selling for $400 to $600. Which of course is too good to be true and screams that it's a scam, as it would be physically impossible to get such a good deal. Lewis claimed in the response, explaining the situation, that they were very clear the phone was a Galaxy Fold, but his fans quickly pointed out that with clips like this, that was absolutely not the case.
The weight is the same, surprisingly. I almost feel like there's other components in here, but I don't know.
Now, it's clear to everybody that this phone was a scam. So to put out the video without massive disclaimers literally everywhere saying don't buy this, this is probably a scam, makes him completely negligible in this fact. In fact, even upon review watching the video, it does come off as a soft promotion, one that many people accused him of being paid to do. Whether or not it was a promotion, nobody really knows. Of course, they denied it entirely. But even still, they essentially posted a video which caused some members of their audience to lose money. And the only reason to post a video like this, if you're not warning people about it, is of course to make the money from the ad revenue in the first place. Unlike RiceGum, Unbox Therapy is still around and still making videos with great success, though their numbers are much lower than they were before this fiasco, and it's hard to say if they ever will be again. Trust, of course, is a scarce commodity in the online tech space, and when a channel gets so big that they are now a business worrying about making money, it becomes much more difficult to distinguish what is being done for the good of the consumer or for the bottom line of the business, and those two things definitely don't go hand in hand. When you start tangling the two with promotions or deals with tech that you then promote, that's when everything can come crashing down. And now that there's so many channels saturating that niche, what need do they have for you? A lesson that Unbox Therapy should have learned, but judging from both times how they responded, it's hard to say they really took it to heart.
It was around 1.5 years ago that I started getting really deep into personal development and entrepreneurship. And for better or worse, I usually have this pretty nasty habit of getting like super obsessed over things that I get into for as long as I can remember.
In his prime, Jake Tran was considered a YouTube mastermind, crafting thought-provoking and engaging documentaries every single week. The production quality was great, the storytelling was fantastic, and the angle that Jake took was one of a kind. So how did his channel go from this to a shameless cash cow that pumped out repetitive, low-quality videos? Well, to answer that, you'll need to understand who Jake is and what brought him to YouTube in the first place. The struggles and trials that Jake experienced in his early life would become the foundation of how he conducted business, and at the very core of it all, his relationship with money. Jake grew up poor and didn't have access to the finer things in life. His family had to cut a lot of corners to stay afloat and to make ends meet. These circumstances made him dream of a better life and gave Jake the hunger to make it big. Which is of course by no means a poor quality to have or a life goal that is inherently bad. This all depends on how you pair that with a strong ethical foundation. So getting into YouTube, Jake's story was that of trial and error. He went through a series of setbacks and failures on his journey to financial freedom. When he first started his channel, Ironwood Productions, it only reached 5,000 subscribers. At this point, he dropped out of college and started a freelance web development career. After a while, he tried again to make YouTube work, this time selling people on him, Jake Tran, a young man having the answers to a better life, despite him searching for a better life himself. The classic confidence play, fake it till you make it. He was selling courses on how to get a $40 an hour work from home job, but it wasn't quite making ends meet as much as he hoped. So Jake began another YouTube chapter, the finance-focused video essay route that was going to change his life forever.
And if you are new to this channel and you enjoy this style of like visually pleasing videos for the business entrepreneur niche, be sure to click that big red subscribe button down below while you're down there as well.
He started grinding away for months, putting out weekly videos that were seeing little to no success, until suddenly things started to explode in late 2021. Within a year, Jake had gained over 1 million new subscribers and was seeing monthly views in the tens of millions, resulting in hundreds of thousands of dollars in monthly advertisement dollars from YouTube's partner program, and, more crucially, an inbox full of endorsement leads. This left Jake at a crossroads. He could go left, making amazing money, life-changing money, and continue to work hard for a long-term future. Or he could go right, make even better money for the short term and promote things that most YouTubers avoid. Since you're watching this video, you know exactly where he went. He took the right turn, opted to go with the easy, fast money, and he let the greed get to him.
If you buy an NFT project, others tend to follow, pushing the price up. The hard part is catching onto these crypto whale hype trains early on, so you're not left holding the bag.
Wait a second, I want to make sure I have this right. I'm supposed to be able to make life-changing profits by catching a hype train early, but I have to make sure I'm not the one left holding the bag. This sounds a lot like a Ponzi scheme.
The promotions were always on the nose. He'd make a video about how gambling's evil, then he'd include a gambling sponsor. He'd talk about how the stock market was evil and include a stock trading bot sponsor. Essentially, he was double dipping and using his audience as leverage to sell the problems he talked about in the videos. Though of course the unique aspect of Jake's content made some fans argue that it was entirely on brand, since he was not only telling stories about evil practices, but giving you a tutorial on how to do them yourself, which would make sense that he was now doing them. And this is, in fact, exactly what Jake said when he came under fire for the practice when called out by channels like CoffeeZilla, who exposed the hypocrisy of Jake's promotions. Which brought us the now classic YouTuber apology non-apology, where he said, "I apologize for nothing," smiley face. He then goes on to say that he was going to push himself and that there was lots of cool stuff coming. But that cool stuff was actually the beginning of a meteoric downtrend in his viewership, which has seen him fall to views he had before his massive blow up in 2021. So the changes he considered to be cool involved the lazy automation of his channel. To be clear, no one knew Jake was writing all of his own videos or editing them, but at least they knew the brand Jake Tran by his voice with the narration. Very quickly though, Jake was no longer part of his own videos. He was no longer the voice. Jake did appear in his own videos very briefly, usually just to read another greedy sponsor segment that sold something to his quickly declining audience. Something that would probably have been contractually obligated by the sponsors. This was the only thing he couldn't outsource to other people, whereas everything else was. Essentially what Jake had done was to prioritize profit over delivering a good viewing experience for his audience. After seeing the trend of a clear decline in viewership, Jake tried to stem the bleeding. He started to once again narrate his own videos, but still continued the trend of filling his description box with promotions for anything and everything related to making money for himself. Sponsors, affiliates, courses on how to make money, and more. He even started posting videos even more frequently, making the monthly viewership decline look even more destructive in context. It's the classic losing sight of how you made it in the first place, and at this point, Jake's core fanbase, who felt like they were watching a human with a YouTube channel, had mostly abandoned ship, leaving the man who refused to apologize during the hubris of his peak to ride it all the way down to the depths alone. But Jake does consider himself to be the villain of his own story, so instead of taking it lying down, he simply rebranded to a faceless new channel and continued to do exactly what he did with Jake Tran, only now without his name or voice attached to it. Though even if you include the viewership of that channel as well as the main Jake Tran channel, they combined don't even begin to scratch the surface of the success he had before. Or of course the meteoric heights he could have seen had he continued down the path created by the innovation and hard work, without the immediate downfall caused solely by short-term greed. And there we go. Those are 3 cautionary tales of different ways to sell out once you reach the peak of your success, cashing in the check on your future longevity. A story that is as old as the platform, and one that is destined to be repeated whenever people put their vanity or greed ahead of who they were when they started, losing sight of what made them in the first place. A reminder that if you blow up being one person, you need to keep sight of who that person was, or risk losing it all, perhaps forever.